and putting up a tremendous performance here to become the 5th successive favourite to win the Hennessy Gold Cup as he strides up towards the line. Barrow Lad is the winner. Second is Kenny Danny. It's going to be close for third, with Gay Chance just holding on to third place ahead of 4.
Swindon and the surrounding areas have had a long history with horse racing, from the plethora of stables that existed here in the 19th century. John Francome's success as a jockey and trainer makes him one of the foremost figures of all time in the racing world, but he has also made a success in the world of broadcasting and publishing as a commentator and novelist. So before we go into his early life in Swindon, his career and other stuff that matters about him, here's a brief introduction from myself.
Hi everyone, I'm John and welcome to John's Box, my YouTube channel, and to the 7th of 20 editions of Famous Swindonians, Dead and Alive. And today it's the turn of no other than John Francome, arguably one of the most famous Swindonians. You've just heard the introduction. Before I go on about John, let me mention to you that this is the 7th edition. Up to now, I'll just put John there so you can see him. Up to now, in chronological order, have been Diana Dawes, famous actress, David Murray John, architect, Rick Davis of Supertramp, Sir William Arthur Stanier, Ralph Bates, and exactly a year ago, David Howell, professional golfer. Here we have a professional horse racer, jockey, and TV presenter. He's done all of them. And just imagine, he went from zero to hero against all odds, born on a council estate in Swindon, like some other famous Swindonians. So it just goes to prove, no matter what your background is, if you're determined to do something, you can do it. And John Francome certainly was one of them, as you'll discover in a moment when we go through his early life in Swindon, early career, how he got into horse riding exactly. There's also something about his race career highlights, post racing endeavours, and legacy, Swindon legacy. And there's something funny also about John as well. Yes, as I mentioned, he is a Swindonian, and if you listen to him, you'll see he's definitely got a Swindon accent. Have a listen.
Last, and Pendle looked home and hosed in the Dickler. Ron Barry came from miles out the clouds to do him on the line. He never did win a Gold Cup, but that was my first memory. And from a jockey's point of view,
yeah, that video is about 15 years old. John's talking about his Cheltenham memories. Of course, he won Cheltenham Gold Cup not on one occasion. By the way, when John was finishing his horse racing career, I was just getting into this myself. I actually attended the Grand National on 2 occasions. The first time was in 1985 when John Francome ran his last Grand National. At that time, he didn't finish. His horse, I think he had to pull up his horse. I'm just checking who he actually rode at the time. Just bear with me. It was Drumlargan. Yeah, the horse refused. It was pulled up. It was one of the favourites at 8-1. So yeah, John was rather unlucky there. By the way, John is one of those jockeys never to have won the Grand National. In fact, the best jockey never to have won the Grand National. So there's a bit of a fun fact to start with. He's actually written several books, and other famous authors and people of horse racing have written about him. The famous Peter O'Sullivan, the late Peter O'Sullivan as well, the late and great wrote this about him. I'll need to just get my glasses on, if you'll bear with me. Nothing specifically, because John doesn't get much of a mention in this book. It says this is all about using the whip. During an interview with John FRANCOME at the outset of the best 3 days racing of the year, the champion jockey, he's referring of course to the Cheltenham Gold Festival, who made riding over obstacles an art form, expressed the doubt whether more than one horse in 100 runs faster for the whip. Evidence during the festival suggested that John's opinion was not widely shared by his fellow riders. John was against the use of the whip, or rather excessive use of the whip, stating there, and it's true, I've seen one or two other interviews with him, that it doesn't make much of a difference, but he's one of those rare jockeys who seems to think so. Okay, I just digressed a little bit. So as I mentioned in this video, we're going to look at a lot more about John. As I mentioned, he's arguably one of the most famous Swindonians in this series of videos, and as I mentioned, I used to be really into horse racing, at least as a spectator, not as a pundit. So when you see me again, I'll be choosing the next famous Swindonian to be featured soon in the series of famous Swindonians. Hope that all makes sense. So sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of this video, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes time.
Born in Swindon in a council house in Mulberry Grove on the 13th of December 1952, he is the son of a railway fireman, and when he left Park Senior High School, the same school I used to go to by the way, he had few qualifications to show for it. His connection to Swindon is both personal and formative, as it was here that he began his journey into the world of horse racing. FRANCOME came from a meagre background at a time when being a jockey was a career path mainly open to the wealthy. FRANCOME had no familial ties to horse racing. His business sense, however, had already manifested itself in a scheme to print counterfeit lunch vouchers, which he sold to selected classmates at half price. His entry into the sport was largely by chance. The FRANCOME family had no connection with horses, but a ride on a donkey at Barry Island at the age of 6 was enough to captivate John, and the happiest moments of a happy childhood were the ones spent in the saddle. One of the last areas he might have been expected to find himself was in the horse world, not least because the family struggled to provide the funds for him to compete with the horsey set. On leaving school, he realized show jumping offered little financial security, and he recalls, to become a jockey suddenly seemed the natural solution. At 16, he sought work as a stable lad and secured an apprenticeship with renowned trainer Fred Winter in Lambourne, a decision that would shape his future. Despite reservations that he would grow too big, the 16-year-old became an apprentice at Lambourne, and he moved from Swindon into the stable hostel. He openly admitted that his family struggled to find the funds to allow him to train and compete. Remarkably, it was his family who managed to secure the funds to buy him his first horse, a pony named Black Beauty. Fairly unusually for a jockey, his first successes on horseback were as a show jumper. Yet even winning the European Championship with the Great Britain team is dismissed in one line in his autobiography. He excelled, at first becoming a junior show jumper. But his last season in show jumping proved his best, and after winning the Young Riders' Championship of Great Britain at Hickstead, and struggling to keep down his weight, he nearly turned his back on racing early on. However, his heart was set on racing, and he became an apprentice for the trainer Fred Winter in the late 60s. It did not take long for FRANCOME to have his first race, and with it, his first win. He was soon given his first public ride on Multigrey at Worcester in November 1969 and won easily, but his second race at Cheltenham ended when he broke his wrist. He romped home to victory riding Multigrey at Worcester in 1970. In the next year he rode for Winter and notched up his first win for his benefactor. This would begin a very fruitful partnership in which they would snatch some of the biggest prizes in racing. In only his second season, the young jockey was getting rides with top owners and winning, and was already well on the way to his first National Hunt Championship, which he claimed in the 1975-6 season. Francome's career is marked by numerous achievements. As a champion jockey, he clinched the British Champion Jump Jockey title 7 times between 1976 and 1985. His major wins and notable victories include the 1978 Cheltenham Gold Cup on Midnight Court, the Champion Hurdle on Sea Pigeon in 1981, and the King George VI Chase aboard Borough Hill Lad in 1984. The record-breaking ride was in 1984 when he surpassed Stan Mellor's record by achieving his 1036th win at Portrayal Park. Francome had a host of major wins in his career. Arguably, the biggest of these was winning the 1978 Cheltenham Gold Cup on Midnight Court. He also won the Sun Alliance Chase twice, once riding Pengrail in 1975 and Brown Chamberlain in 1982. Switching effortlessly from chase to national hunt racing, the horse most people will remember is the turf legend Sea Pigeon, which won the championship hurdle in 1981. In jumps, he had 1,138 winners overall and claimed 7 British Champion Jockey Jump titles. After retiring from competitive racing in 1985, Francome transitioned into various roles. As a television presenter, he became a prominent figure on Channel 4 Racing, contributing to the sports coverage for over 2 decades. As an author, Francome wrote 25 books, including his autobiography Born Lucky, which detailed his illustrious career, and several fiction titles centered around racing themes. After he retired, he became a prolific author, writing 23 fiction titles and 2 non-fiction. He has also been a vice patron of the Injured Jockeys Fund. He served as president of this from 2012 to 2016 and continues to support the organisation as a vice patron. However, his biggest accolade came shortly after retirement. In 1986, he was awarded an MBE for service to racing. This was a well-deserved and fitting reward for one of Swindon's most famous sportsmen. Francome's legacy is celebrated in Swindon, where he is regarded as a local hero. His rise from humble beginnings to national acclaim serves as an inspiration to many. In 2017, Newbury Racecourse honoured him by naming a race in his honour, the John Francome Novices Chase. He also writes a regular racing column in The Sun. John lives just outside the county border in Lambourne, but still retains a great bond for his hometown, visiting it as often as time allows. Thank you, John. Swindon loves you.
Joe and John Francome, what's Christmas going to be like for you two? Any problems with the weight?
Well, I always have problems with my weight, but I usually try to relieve a little bit of room for lunch on Christmas Day. But turkey.
I'll be chucking into a lovely bit of turkey, Christmas pudding and cream. Will you be allowed to do that?
Oh yeah, I'll be getting into all of that, definitely, on Christmas Day, yeah.
But how will you ride on Boxing Day if you eat all that on Christmas Day?
Oh, I'll go to bed with the wife in the afternoon, give her a good hug.
There you have it, there you have it. That's all about the great John Francome. Now, if you know him personally, if you're into horse racing, if you love it, then please comment on this video. Don't forget to like or dislike. Maybe there are things you could add to the video, because your feedback adds to the content of the video. It makes it the real thing there. Okay then, so what I'm going to do now is to choose the next famous Swindonian, dead or alive, to be featured in the series Famous Swindonians. So let's just yeah, I have to mix them up. See what we're going to have in a couple of weeks' time when I do this again. It is none other than, well, I've chosen two, so I'll have to put one of these back. I'm not looking. This one. It is none other than, well, it's not someone, but actually the pop group XTC. That's the pop rock band, actually, of the 1980s mainly. So I'm going to feature them collectively. I'm sure some of you will have heard of them. So I'll be making plans for XTC, not for Nigel, in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you very much for sticking to the end of this video, and I'll see you again in another one on John's Box. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed and would like to see similar content to this, please do so. Currently I'm on about 890 subs. I'd love to get to 1,000 ASAP. See you again soon. Bye for now.